As you settle into this moment, you might wonder how quickly you can begin to feel that sense of complete detachment washing over you. And isn't it interesting how the very act of being left on red can actually become the doorway to discovering just how magnetic and valuable you truly are? I'm curious about which feeling you'll notice first as you realize that silence itself is simply another form of communication. Because when someone doesn't respond immediately, they're actually giving you the perfect opportunity to remember your own worth, aren't they? You already know that your value doesn't depend on anyone else's response time, and as you continue to breathe naturally, you can feel that truth settling deeper into your awareness. Have you ever watched a lighthouse standing tall on a rocky shore? Well, that lighthouse doesn't dim its light when ships don't immediately respond to its beacon, does it? It simply continues to shine, knowing that its purpose is to be brilliant regardless of who notices in any given moment. You're probably noticing how this analogy resonates with something deep inside you, aren't you? The sooner you recognize that being left on red is actually a gift of space and time, the sooner you discover that this space allows you to cultivate an even more magnetic presence. What would happen if you viewed every moment of silence as the universe giving you permission to fall more deeply in love with yourself? Some people find that when they stop chasing responses naturally begin to chase them. Let me ask you this. Have you ever noticed how the most attractive people seem to have this quality of being completely content whether someone responds or not? That's because they understand something profound about magnetism. It's not about being needed. It's about being so fulfilled within yourself that others are naturally drawn to your energy. Speaking to yourself right now, you can feel that magnetic quality beginning to emerge within you. Imagine if you were a rare gemstone sitting in a jewelry store window. Now, you don't lose your value when someone walks by without stopping to admire you, do you? Your worth remains constant, sparkling, and beautiful, waiting for someone who has the wisdom to recognize true quality when they see it. As you hold this image in your mind, you can feel your self-worth becoming as unshakable as that precious stone. I'm getting the impression that you're the kind of person who understands that truly magnetic individuals don't chase, they attract. You don't have to convince anyone of your worth because your energy speaks for itself. Those who understand authentic magnetism recognize that the most powerful position is one of centered self-assurance. And isn't it fascinating how this realization can shift everything? Here's an interesting thing about anxiety around being left on red. It actually stems from giving away your power to someone else's timeline. By the way, when you reclaim that power and anchor it back within yourself, you become irresistibly magnetic because you're no longer operating from a place of need. You're operating from a place of wholeness. You might be wondering how quickly you can transform this feeling of being left hanging into a feeling of being perfectly poised and self-contained. Well, it begins the moment you realize that your worth isn't determined by response times. It's determined by your own relationship with yourself. A person can choose to see silence as rejection, or they can choose to see it as space for their own magnificence to grow. Even though you sent that text with hope and expectation, you can now understand that the real gift is in discovering how complete you are all by yourself. What's it like when you realize that being left on red is actually life's way of saying, here's some time to remember how amazing you are without anyone else's validation? You may find this perspective shift liberating, and that's perfectly fine. There once was a master gardener who planted the most beautiful flowers in her garden. She would water them, tend to them, and then simply trust in their natural beauty. She never stood over them, demanding they bloom faster or grow more vibrantly. Instead, she understood that her job was to plant the seeds of beauty and then allow natural timing to unfold. Your text message is like that seed, planted with care and intention, and now you can trust that whatever response comes or doesn't come is simply part of the natural timing of connection. I can sense that you're beginning to feel that shift from anxious waiting to confident being, because the truth is, magnetic people don't wait around for others to validate their worth. They simply radiate their value so consistently that others are naturally drawn to them. You're probably noticing how this feeling of centered confidence is already beginning to replace any anxiety you might have felt, aren't you? Something tells me you're discovering that the most attractive quality anyone can possess is the ability to be completely okay with or without another person's immediate response. How does it feel knowing that this very realization is making you more magnetic right now? Your unconscious mind already knows that people are drawn to those who are whole and complete within themselves. As you continue to breathe and relax, you can feel that preoccupation with being left on red simply melting away like ice in warm sunshine. When you operate from a place of knowing your own worth, silence becomes just another form of communication, and you can read it with the same confidence you'd read any other message. It might be saying, "I'm busy right now," or "I'm processing what you said," or "I'm dealing with something else at the moment." None of these interpretations have anything to do with your value as a person. I'm not going to tell you to stop caring about responses entirely, because caring shows your capacity for connection. I wonder if you can simply care from a place of abundance rather than scarcity, knowing that you have so much love and value to offer that whether this particular person responds or not doesn't diminish your worth one bit. The question isn't whether you'll become more magnetic, but how quickly you'll recognize that you already are. You might notice how this magnetic quality has always been within you, waiting for moments exactly like this to be fully activated. Before you send another text to anyone, you'll remember this feeling of complete self-assurance and carry it with you like a secret source of power. Perhaps you might think of yourself as a radio station that broadcasts the most beautiful music. You don't stop playing your beautiful music just because someone hasn't tuned in yet. You simply continue to broadcast your unique frequency, knowing that those who are meant to hear your song will find their way to your station when the timing is right. You could, if you wanted to, take this opportunity to practice being so magnetically confident that your energy alone communicates your worth. It's possible that this very moment of being left on red is actually the universe's way of giving you the gift of remembering just how complete and valuable you are all by yourself. After you fully embrace this feeling of detached confidence, you'll notice that your interactions with others become more authentic and magnetic, because you're no longer coming from a place of need. You're coming from a place of offering your wonderful self to the world, and that energy is absolutely irresistible. That makes sense, doesn't it? When you're not desperately waiting for validation, you become the kind of person others naturally want to validate. I suggest you carry this feeling of relaxed confidence with you, if that's okay with you, because it's this very quality that makes you truly magnetic. Isn't it interesting how the act of not needing a response immediately makes you the kind of person who gets responses? You already know that magnetic people have this quality of being present and engaged when someone responds, and equally present and engaged when they don't. This balanced energy is what draws people in like a magnet. You may not be aware of how powerfully attractive this new perspective makes you yet, but you're about to discover that when you stop chasing responses and start embodying your own worth, responses begin to chase you. And even when they don't, you remain completely fulfilled because you've learned the secret of generating your own sense of value from within. Speaking of magnetic energy, have you ever noticed how the most attractive people seem to have this quality of being interested but not desperate, engaged but not attached? That's the energy you're cultivating right now, and it's absolutely irresistible because it comes from a place of wholeness rather than emptiness. As you embrace this new way of being, you can feel yourself becoming like a beautiful, confident cat who may enjoy being petted but certainly doesn't need it to feel worthy. This feline-like confidence is magnetic because it communicates self-respect and self-love, and those qualities are absolutely irresistible to others. You don't have to believe me when I say that this shift in perspective is already making you more magnetic, because you'll prove it to yourself through your own experience. And that's the most powerful kind of knowing there is, isn't it?